Hey YouTube, this is Air-Cooled ADV here, cleaning my guns or firearms after shooting outing a few days ago, and I realized it's been about a year since I purchased my Walther PPQ M1, or version 1 or generation 1 here, and I thought I would just talk about it in that it was my first 9mm double stack handgun. I've owned some double stack handguns before, a few Glocks, but never a 9mm, and I thought I'd just talk about it in that it is just a superb firearm, and anybody who's in the market for a gun like this or looking for something that's double stack, 9mm, sort of just a little smaller than like a full size, and does really well for its size and weight, I thought I'd talk about what to me is really the best bang for your buck firearm out there right now in that category, in my opinion. Trying to think. I don't have like a sheet in front of me or anything. As per usual, I don't really do this in a very organized manner, but I thought I'd just talk about some different aspects of the gun. I owned it, and maybe also how I chose it over like a Glock 19 Gen 5, as that was a really big contender for me for this category of firearm. First off, I'd just like to say that it's unloaded. You can see magazine's empty there, and let me just put down the camera for a second. You can also see that there is nothing in the chamber. In fact, I will go ahead and just lock it open. You can see nothing in the chamber. First off, I'll say that while this firearm retails for around $640, and I think the MSRP, or the retail suggested price is upwards of $600. In reality, you'll find this, online, and really by the time it's in your house and all paid for, fees and otherwise cost-wise, you can easily attain this firearm brand new for under $500, which puts it actually significantly cheaper than like a Glock 19 Gen 3, 4, or 5 brand new. Maybe not the Gen 3, but Gen 4 or 5. That was one of the big considerations for me when choosing this over the Glock 19 Gen 5. I have kind of small hands, and the 19 Gen 5 fits me a lot better, and I like the aggressive grip stippling and lack of finger grooves a lot more than the Gen 4 or Gen 3. It also has the Gen 5 has a much better trigger than the Gen 4 specifically. All that being said, at the time and even now still, this firearm is going to run you really from most retailers online, and if you're doing your shopping well, you can find this firearm for about $100 cheaper, roughly, than a Gen 5 Glock. Now, price not being considered, as much as I love Glock, this is kind of a better firearm, at least in my opinion. It's just as reliable as any Glock, and really, in my personal experience, at least comparatively to a Gen 4 Glock 22 I owned that I acquired brand new, it's actually been more reliable. The Glock, if you got it dirty enough, would have standard issues that semi-automatic 9mm or semi-automatic handguns have. It would stovepipe, and it would occasionally fail to go into battery fully if you got it dirty enough. I have never had that issue. I have had absolutely no reliability issues with this. So reliability wise, I've owned it for over a year now. I've put a few thousand rounds through it. It's been 100% reliable, dirty or clean. It's been absolutely fantastic. Now, that being said, I do keep all of my firearms immaculately clean, but reliability wise, sorry, I'm just kind of going in random categories, or not really random, but just categories off the top of my head here. It's been absolutely superb, 100%. I've even gotten a little dirty, and it's excellent. Now, from an accuracy standpoint, it has the Glock style non-sharp edge. I don't know if it's called polygonal or whatever, match rifling, but it has the same rifling style as a Glock. I found it to be extremely accurate, and I think one of the biggest contributors to that is not necessarily the barrel or the sights, but the trigger. If you've read up on these at all, you know that the Walther striker-fired handgun trigger, at least in the PPQ from the factory, is probably the best striker fire trigger on the market, and I'll demonstrate that here. It has a very crisp break that is relatively light, a little lighter than any Glock I've ever felt. And it has a very short audible and tactile reset. So you'll see it has some take up here that's light and very consistent. You get to a wall and click. And then if I wrap the slide here, you'll see the reset is both audible and very tactile, and you can just ride the reset. You see that my finger and the trigger have not moved past the reset, and there's the break again, just right there. So I found it to be extremely accurate in that category. So it's reliable, it's accurate. From a comfort standpoint, as most polymer frame handguns come with these days, this comes with interchangeable back straps. I run the smallest back strap as I have rather small hands. But I found it to be extremely comfortable. The grip, if there's one complaint I have from an ergonomic standpoint, it's that this multi-directional stippling, while extremely comfortable, I prefer a little more aggressive stippling so that if your hands are wet or sweaty or whatever, you get a little better purchase on it. That being said, this has been, it's an excellent grip. It has very effectively placed palm swells, and yet despite it being very comfortable, it remains to be relatively slim. It doesn't really get wider at the grip. In fact, the widest point of the firearm is at the ambidextrous slide release, which is another ergonomic standpoint I'll talk about. It has a very large slide release, which is very easy to actuate. It's extremely comfortable. It also, by design, the slide closes without much force at all. If you have the slide lock backed and you insert a live magazine with rounds in it, it doesn't take much of a tap at all. It'll automatically close. But yes, ergonomically, the handgun is excellent. It has a great trigger, a very comfortable grip. Like I said, my only real complaint with the firearm at all actually is just I would have preferred a little more aggressive grip stippling. Trying to think if there are any other categories. From a weight and size standpoint, it's extremely comparable to the Glock 19, loaded or unloaded, magazine or no magazine. These 15-round magazines, which I believe are made by Mekgar in Italy, are very light and they're easy to load. I actually like that they have an orange follower, as it allows you to very quickly be able to see not only if it's empty, but also through the round acquisition holes here, you can tell how many rounds you have in the magazine pretty quickly. They are a little pricey. They're a little more expensive than the Glock mags, although if you find them on gunbuyer.com, which is what I bought this firearm through, you'll get them for very reasonably priced, around $30 versus like the $45, $50 you'll find them in most big box stores for. Anyway, I don't mean to ramble unnecessarily, but I thought I'd just talk about this firearm. If you're in the market for a 9mm double stack handgun, I truly believe that for the price, you can have this firearm with extra magazines and ammunition for the same price you would have a Glock for. And really the Glock offers no upsides other than that it's a Glock and it has interchangeability. But other than that, this is significantly less expensive. It is arguably really more comfortable and more ergonomic. It has front slide serrations, and the slide serrations as a whole in their angled demeanor are, in my opinion, better than Glock slide serrations. If you get the M1, which I did here, it is fully ambidextrous with a European-style mag release and slide stops or slide releases on both sides. And it also has decent polymer 3-dot sights, which I prefer 3-dot to Glock's weird box and dot, which are also polymer. So really, again, just a really fantastic handgun, and very accurate, reliable, and very ergonomic. And on top of all of that, this is perhaps the last thing I consider when buying a firearm, but it looks really good. It's an aesthetically very pleasing firearm to look at. It has great lines, good contours. The front slide serrations, while they help with press checks, they look really cool. But anyway, this is Air-Cooled ADV, just talking about my Walther PPQ M1 here, in sort of this raw, sort of rambling review. Anyway, signing off.